All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, you already know what's happening. And right here, right now, we are live in full effect, and we actually have a phenomenal West Coast hip-hop historian. This individual is also a part of the Likwit crew. This individual has done some phenomenal things for hip-hop, not only on the West Coast, but for all of hip-hop in general. We got the one and only Klass 1 right here, live on the line, man. How are you doing this evening?
Yo, it's good, man. I'm feeling good, man. I'm glad to be, chopping over you guys.
Hey, man, I gotta say, it's definitely an honor to have you here on the Canadian FM dial, man. I gotta say, how's everything out there in California, man? I see you guys are still doing events, doing shows. You guys are still having fun out there, man. Aside from the pandemic.
Oh man, well, it's like a roller coaster. One minute we're up, screaming, having a good time, and next time you know it, we're going down, screaming. We're just trying to hang in there, trying to live life, but at the same time, really trying to be safe.
And also as well, man, I gotta ask, man, if you don't want me to ask, going back to the beginning, I have to ask, what actually made you decide to actually just kind of get into the music industry, being a hip hop historian? Like, what actually pursued your love for hip hop originally?
Oh man, it's a trip. I know. Okay, on social media, there's a question that goes around. What was the first song that made you fall in love with hip hop? Well, with me, and I'm pretty sure it goes for most people, I got into hip hop without even knowing it was hip hop. It's what I saw, the vision. Just seeing my neighbors who were breakers and pop rockers at the time, having sessions outside the streets. Just hearing the music. The whole vision. Got me hooked, and that's how I got involved with hip hop.
And also,
it wasn't really the songs. It was the dance. The whole vision of what they were doing at the time.
And when you said on your block that you had breakdancing and whatnot, man, did you actually ever get into breakdancing yourself, or did you just leave that to the other individuals on your block?
Nah, they got me involved in the sessions. I just never really got too tuned into it. But I got involved in the sessions. I was breaking and popping. Every time they had the sessions. In fact, I had a few battles myself. And we're talking 85, 86. But at that time, everything was going to a different direction. Like when I came in, I was just a little kid. When I came in, it was kind of like I say like fading out, because that's when the boogie dance was getting popular, the whole New Jack swing. And I guess that's why I never really got too into the breaking and popping. I guess that's why I never pursued it.
And also as well, man, you were actually a member of the Likwit crew. I was wondering, how did you originally become a member of that group? And of course, how did you actually get connected with the Alcoholics?
Oh man, that's a funny story. Well, I first met J-Ro through a homie, and then when the Licks had a show, I actually opened up for them. I was the only DJ in a full lineup of rappers that opened up that opened up for the Licks. And when I met J-Ro and everybody else, just slowly we started hanging out. And there's one show that there were headliners as well. Taj comes up to me and he goes, "Hey man, I see you kicking a lot with we roll. I see you repping Likwit. If you really want to rap, you gotta get initiated." And I was already drinking a couple of beers, and Taz had a bottle of tequila. So me being me, just having a good time, already buzzing it, I decided to start pounding tequila. And oh man, that was one of the moments that I kind of not regret, but mixing tequila and beer is not a good combination. But it was a great time, and ever since, I've been running with the Licks, and we just been working on projects, working together. Whatever the guys need from me, I'm always there for them. Same thing for Tila. He's the one who actually put me on. J-Ro, he brought me into the camp. But King T, he's the one who made me official. He just came up to me, and he's like, "You're officially Likwit."
And I gotta say, man, I gotta ask, man, because I know this might sound like a cliche type of question, man, but when you actually heard those words out of King T's mouth, coming from like, you know, a hip hop historian like yourself, an individual that was there, witnessed the beginning of West Coast hip hop, how did it feel to actually just be able to say, you know what, I'm Likwit, you know what I mean? I'm part of this group now, you know what I mean? How did that actually feel for you?
Considering that I was just building with King T, it was, man, this is going to sound cliche, but to this day, I still don't have no words. It was just one of those moments that I just couldn't believe. I'm like, man, is this coming from the man himself, the founder, the legend? Especially considering I'm a huge fan of King. It was, it was one of those moments that I will never forget.
And also, as well, aside from the Likwit crew, man, you are also a member of another group as well called the Antics crew, man. That's an organization compiled of artists helping one another. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners a bit more about this organization. And, of course, if we have any artists listening that do potentially want to try to become a member, how do they actually request to join this organization?
Well, that came from J-Ro. You know, well, actually, it was like kind of like my idea, but Jay was the one who came up with Antics, and it came from his mixtapes, the Antics 818. He has two mixtapes out there that go by Antics 818, and I just went up to J-Ro from Darkaholics, and I was like, hey man, we have a lot of talent around us. From rappers to DJs to graphic designers, you name it. We should get together and try to help one another. At the same time, living up with the name of Antics, and he loved it. He called for a meeting. He got a few of us together, and he said, you know what? It's time it's time for us to start helping each other instead of relying on others. Why not help one another? Might as well we're homies. Where we get the same goal, the same vision. Why not help one another? And that's how it came about.
And I gotta say as well, man, when you actually brought up the 818 Antics record, man, I gotta say that definitely that took me back to a much simpler time, man, in my life. I still remember the song "Shake It" that's actually featuring, I believe, Will Blast and Planet Asia, man. One of my favorite joints off that mixtape.
Oh, word! That's what's up. Yeah, because those mixes came out. Well, Volume 1 came out like what? Late 2000s? Around there, Nick?
I would say late around. I think it was like 2006, 2007 area.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it came about. Yeah, so yeah, that Antics is originally J-Ro. And that's how I got connected with Likwit Crew, because of that. It first started with Antics, and then slowly hanging out with Likwit members, and me helping them out, whatever they need. That's what got me involved with the crew.
And also as well, man, you are actually one of the things that you are most known for is actually having a wide range of collection of boomboxes, man. I was wondering if you can actually tell us about this extraordinary collection, and of course, what was the first boombox that you purchased that got you hooked and made you want more?
Well, actually, it took me years, because when I was a little kid, remember when I said that I got into hip-hop without even knowing it was hip-hop because my neighbors were having b-boy and pop-locking sessions? Well, they had a Sonic TRC 91. That's how they were playing music. And like I said, I was a little kid, and it wasn't too long ago, it was a couple of years ago, when I started reminiscing the good old times of hip-hop back in the 80s, when I was so brand new, fresh. And I started going on a mission trying to look for that particular boombox, the Sonic TRC 91. And around that time, it was pretty hard to find boomboxes, because we're talking about like what, 30 years when they were on the market. So I finally found one, and I had this homie who reached out to me. He's like, hey man, there's a few of us that we get together. We all have our original boomboxes, how about you just, join us, before, just come hang out. And next time you know it, we decided to start a club, and we go by Boombox Nation. And that's all we do. We collect boomboxes. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we haven't really hung out. Because normally we'll go to like Venice Beach, which we kind of consider one of the meccas of hip hop in the West Coast. And we just get together, with our boomboxes. And after I rebought the Sonic version, I just couldn't stop. I got addicted to it, and I started buying more and more and more. So I went from having one to 20 of them.
And I got to say, man, I think your collection is going to even grow to double to that, man, because it's crazy that I'm actually saying this, but it almost seems like the 90s and the 80s are actually making a comeback, man. Like, so much stuff from our childhoods is actually now coming back in with this generation. It's kind of weird, man, but I'm hoping they don't tarnish it, in my personal opinion.
Nah, man, like I said, okay, well, so when I started hanging out with these guys, with my boys, nobody was rocking the boxes. Everybody was tripping out, seeing a couple of guys, walking around with blasting, hearing music through the boombox. And every year we do a meet, a convention meet in Vegas. And just the response from the people, bugging out, and it feels great, hearing them, reminiscing to their times, when they used to have their boomboxes. And next thing you know it, man, I'm saying, well, I was behind a couple of these projects, but yeah, you see boomboxes on commercials, movies, sitcoms, especially music videos. It's like, they actually, made a little comeback, and it just, it tripped me out because, like I said, when I started hanging out with these guys, nobody was really rocking the boomboxes. A couple years later, it's passed by, and you see them everywhere.
And the one thing
I like that.
If you don't mind me asking what pertaining to the boombox thing, because I did see the video on your Instagram, actually, of you guys actually, like, doing the whole Sin City, Las Vegas meet. And I know this might sound like a weird question, but this is actually just a question that I just personally want to know. Because obviously you guys have all your boomboxes together, you're cruising down the street. Do you guys all play the same song at the same time, or do you guys actually have different music coming out of each one of your boomboxes?
Nah, we tried that before, playing different music, and it just sounded whack. It was like playing the same song gives them all of attraction. And normally what we do is we one of the guys, he plays some music. And with the I blanked out. The device that sends the airwaves. Because what we do is we tune into the radio, and whatever our boys, whoever's playing the music, he's playing it through a cassette that sends signals through the radio. And then that's how we do it. We just play the same song just to give more of that attraction.
And also as well, man, in Los Angeles, they actually have a thing called the Beat Swap Meet. For the listeners all around the world that might not know or understand what that is, I was wondering if you can actually break it down on what the Swap Meet is. And of course, when is the next one going on? That way, if our listeners that are listening are in the Los Angeles area, they can actually slide on through and check it out.
Oh, the Beat Swap Meet is pretty much a huge record fair, funded by my boy Utmost, a former B-boy. And Beat Swap Meet is a festival that we have over 100 record vendors. We got cassette vendors, 8-track vendors. Pretty much any vendors that is hip hop related. From custom made jewelry, shirts, hats, you name it. We also got b-boy and pop locking battles, live performance. Every DJ, they spin their personal records. We got live graffiti, and we have some from the first generation to the second to the third generation. Just busting out the spray cans and doing what they do. And it's just a huge hip hop festival that contains the actual funding elements of hip hop. You know, so when we say hip hop, we're talking about hip hop, from b-boy, pop locking, DJing, MCing, graffiti, beatboxing. And one of the rules that we have is no digital is allowed. Everything has to be analog. So even though the rappers, the MCs who are performing, they actually play the music through a vinyl. And also, we're also kind of like selective too. You know, if you want to perform, you actually gotta have music where b-boys and pop actors could jump to it.
And I gotta say, man, that right there is the swap meet is one place that if I ever come to California, I'll most definitely won't have any more spending money for the entire trip, man. When it comes to hip hop, that shit's my weakness, bro. I'll go broke.
Oh man, a lot of people, you know, they go with the intention of spending, you know, $50 the most, 100, and they come out spending $300-400 because they, you know, when they're digging, they just digging through some nice records they haven't seen in years, rare records, and you know, and that's what we invite. We invite vendors that have that rare collection, because that's what we want. We want our audience, you know, when they go to Beat Swap Meet, you know, they go home happy because they finally found a record they've been looking for years, or a record that they never streamed before, so they just had to get a copy.
And I gotta say, man, down here in Canada, I wish we had stuff like that, man, because down here in Canada, the closest thing that we have to that, and I'd say, when I say the closest, I mean it's not even relatively close, but a flea market. That's the closest of what we got down here in Canada, man. So we don't even find half of the good stuff that you guys probably find at the Beat Swap Meet.
And then all it takes is a vision, you know, because I heard this before, you know, and now you got, you know, Arizona, you got Texas, you got Washington, you know, they all have reached out to me and be like, oh man, you know, your events, Beat Swap Meet sounds awesome. We could have one out here. And my answer is always, well, you guys can. You know, just get yourself a team and then make it happen, you know, because Beat Swap Meet, it's where my boy Utmost, when he started Beat Swap Meet, the first event of Beat Swap Meet started at a lounge, a small little spot, you know, and after getting a couple of teammates, you know, just coming up with a game plan, and went from a small lounge to a huge-ass festival.
And also as well, man, you are actually a member of the Universal Hip Hop Museum. I was wondering, how did you actually get connected with that amazing organization? And of course, what department of the museum do you actually currently work in?
Well, I'm part of the West Coast department, you know, and I'm the director for the artifacts for the West Coast. And the way I got involved was that was clientele from World Class Wrecking Crew and Silky D from Uncle John's Army. You know, they got involved with Disco Daddy, and for those that don't know, Disco Daddy is the first West Coast recording rap artist, and he invited us to join Carmelo, founder of the historical Radiotron. And for those that don't know about Radiotron, if anybody can remember from the movie Breakin', there's a club scene called Radiotron with Ice-T and Chris Glove Taylor, you know, performing. So, but that scene was actually a club back in the '80s, and every year the founder, Carmelo Alvarez, you know, he throws in a park jam festival. So that's how I got involved by helping them organize the event, which was presented by Universal Hip Hop Museum, and that was a pretty crazy night because a lot of people because this is for the community, so none of us got paid. We all did it for the hip hop community. So a lot of people they kind of like dropped the ball and left, meaning the people that the staffing. So I picked up the slack, and I started running around like a chicken with no head, just taking care of business. And the director, the president of the Universal Hip Hop Museum, Rocky Bucano, he saw that. Everybody else saw how the way, my production, and they just invited me to be part of to be a board of directors, and that's how I got involved.
And I gotta say as well, man, because when you said you actually discovered artifacts and whatnot for the museum, I have to ask, what amazing artifacts have you actually came across so far that has been included within the Universal Hip Hop Museum West Coast section?
Well, right now everything is on standby, but I got the green light from a couple of people, from Egyptian Lover, Arabian Prince, World Class Wrecking Crew, pretty much all the members from Uncle Jam's Army. They got, a couple, their original, outfits from when they used to perform in the 80s, or like an Egyptian Lover. He's 808. He blessed me, that we could have one of his original 808 get displayed at the museum. So right now, nothing has been sent to the museum because it's still under construction. But yeah, my goal is to get anybody that was involved in laying the foundation for West Coast hip hop, and from DJs to MCs to graffiti writers to b-boys to pop blockers. I'm thankful that I'm actually good friends pretty much with everybody from that time. And they have all blessed me, to provide me with something that will represent their legacy.
And also as well, talking about cementing a legacy within West Coast hip hop, you are also currently working on a project titled Set in the West, A History of LA Hip Hop. I was wondering if you can actually tell our listeners a bit more about this phenomenal up-and-coming project, and of course, what is the anticipated release date for this amazing documentary?
Well, actually, Set in the West is available on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, TiVo. So you can see those, through those streams. So you can check them out. It's a documentary. I like calling it like a introduction, because the documentary only focuses on a hand mount of those that were, how can you say, instrumental of laying the foundation of West Coast hip hop, which I'm talking about, like Uncle Jam's Army, Craig Mack from 1580 K-Day, which was the first hip hop radio station, 24/7, World Class Wrecking Crew. And you could watch it on stream through Amazon Prime. And the way I got involved in that project was, actually Dr. Frankenstein, one of the original DJs for Uncle Jam's Army, reached out to me, and he asked me if I could help them promote the film. And that was my job, to promote the film. I'm actually kind of proud that I got the film involved for the hip hop independent film festival. And going forward, we got future plans. Actually, it's under discussion. But we got plans on working on part 2, part 3, part 4. Because what we would like to do is touch on the elements of every anything that they represent the West Coast. I want to do a documentary for the b-boys, a separate documentary for the pop blockers, for the DJs, for the MCs, and for the writers. Because you can only tell so much in a small amount of time. You know what I mean? So I want to be able to share the full story, and that's what we're doing right now.
And I gotta say as well, man, I gotta say, my apologies. I actually did not know that was out, man. So I know what I'm doing after I get off the air, man. I'm actually gonna head on over to Amazon Prime and actually check out this phenomenal documentary. And I'm gonna be honest, man. The reason why I'm saying it's phenomenal, and I haven't even had the opportunity to watch it yet, because I know it's coming from such an amazing individual like yourself, man. So I already know it's gonna be lit.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, that, because the one thing thing that I've been noticing is that, most people, they focus on the 90s, right? Let's take LA, for example. They always talk about the 90s, talk about, the events that used to take place back, in the 90s. And that's great. We should never forget, the second generation. But we can never, ever forget the beginning of it. Because without the beginning, there wouldn't be the second generation. So we have to celebrate, acknowledge, the origins from our city. And that's one thing I've been noticing, that those from because our origins goes back to the 80s, and nobody really talks about, nobody likes shine on the pioneers. So, and that's why I got heavily involved in kind of like making it my mission, on sharing our origins, our West Coast origins, so people won't forget, so people have a better understanding, of their hip hop culture from their city.
And I got to say as well, man, that's why I got into it as well, man, because just like you said, individuals tend to unfortunately forget about the pioneers, man. And just 2021 alone, man, we lost so many amazing hip-hop pioneers, man. So it's like, I like documenting hip-hop culture from the very beginning. That way this next generation, even after me, can come across these interviews and have a better understanding and hear it from the legends and the pioneers themselves.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that. That's awesome. That because I see you guys, I see who you interview, and that's dope. Because there's one thing I noticed. There's people out there that they try to kind of like rewrite history, or they were never there. So if we still have our pioneers, why not get them involved so they could tell the story since they were there? Obviously I was there too in the 80s, but I was just, I was 5, 6, 7 years old. I only did so much. So when it comes to like Uncle Jam's Army events, why not have an actual member be, come out and tell the story? Radiotron. Why not have one of the original alumni come out and tell the story of Radiotron? Because me personally, I can only say so much. But if I got the pioneers right next to me, why not bring them out? You know what I mean?
I gotta say,
so yeah, man, I salute you for doing that as well.
And I gotta say, man, you definitely have a point on that as well, man. Like, a lot of people, they just think that they read an article on the internet, they automatically think it's true, but anybody can write an article, man. But, you know what I mean? It says a lot when it actually comes from the mouth of the individual that lived it.
Exactly. And like I said, there's certain people that, they act like they were there, or for some reason they just kind of like twist the story up. And like, nah, it's time to kind of like put a stop to that and bring out the originators.
But I have to ask, Klass, you know what I mean? What is next for you, man? Is like, because I do know, you just got the documentary done. It's out. You know what I mean? You're still working on other versions of it as well. But I have to ask, man, is there anything we happen to miss during this broadcast? Anything else you do still want to talk about or promote? Well, we still got you here live on the Canadian FM dial this evening.
Man, there's a couple of projects that I'm looking into, and I'm working on. I obviously I had other projects, in mind that was in work, but unfortunately, we lost General Jeff from Uncle Jam's Army and Randy Joe Cooley. He left us in October, and we had some plans. G-Bone, the founder of Ultra Wave, and for those that don't know, Ultra Wave, it was an event that had like a different style, which influenced Teddy Riley to come up with the New Jack Swing sound, and that's where the Cutting Max, the Soul Brothers, came from, and we had some plans on doing something that we wanted to pursue again, sharing the origins of West Coast was last year too. So, my two big homies, they're gone, and I'm, it got me thinking like, okay, it's gonna be kind of complicated to pursue these particular projects because obviously, they own the rights to certain things that I'm unable to touch. So I don't want to stop, especially if them two personally told me that if they ever leave, I need to keep on going. So that being said, I got a couple of things in mind that I'm working on. I can't really say, but if it happens, which it will happen, hopefully, I could be back on the show to talk about it.
Oh, man, most definitely, man. Whenever them projects drop, you already know we're connected on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot, man. So definitely, whenever they do drop, let me know, and we'll definitely get you back on, and we can actually talk about it and promote it.
Most definitely, like I said, I have a different approach, in the beginning, I was heavily DJing, clubs, festivals, concerts, and whatnot. But I just saw a path that was calling me, which was share the story of West Coast hip hop, and I decided to go to that direction. And I got no regrets because I actually liked it. I love when people come up to me, especially the youngsters, when they come up to me telling me like, "Oh man, I didn't know about Uncle Jam's Army. Oh, I didn't know about LA Breakers. Oh man, I didn't know about Showtime Pop Lockers." And them themselves, they get inspired, they get motivated, and they start pursuing the original fundamentals of hip hop. But that's one of the things that keeps me going and makes me want to keep on going.
But also, Klass, this is the time in the interview, man, that I give a chance for the individual that does slide into the radio station airwaves, just a chance to give, shout-outs to whomever they want to give shout-outs to, but most of all, your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated on everything you got going on if they're not already doing so.
Oh, man, everybody can catch me on Klass1 on Instagram, KLASS_ONE on Instagram. And same thing for Facebook, Klass1 with KLASSONE on Facebook. And anybody that want to reach out, by all means.
And I gotta say, first and foremost, Klass, thank you so much, man, for just giving us a bit of your time here this evening out of your busy schedule, man. It definitely was an honor and most definitely a privilege just to be able to converse with you, let our listeners know about your history, and of course, talk hip-hop with you, man. It definitely was an honor, and I'm definitely looking forward to the next go-around as well.
Man, likewise, man. I'm happy to be on the show. And if I may say one thing, before we leave.
Most definitely, man. You got the floor.
I want to say this. I want to say that hip-hop is not a genre. Rap is part of hip-hop, but it doesn't not fully represent hip-hop. It just represents part of hip-hop. We all have to remember that hip-hop is a culture, a culture that represents, some elements, again, once again, the b-boy, the street dancing, b-boying, pop locking, boogie dancing, DJing, graffiti, MCing, because every time we hear hip-hop, they always focus on rap, and we got to remember, rap is a genre, hip-hop is a culture, and when we say hip-hop, once again, we speak on all the founding elements.
And I gotta say, I definitely agree as well, man. And one thing that I think people just lack, unfortunately, man, is knowledge as well. They gotta know about what they're doing as well, in my personal opinion.
Yes, and that's one of the key elements of Beat Swap Me. That's why we showcase all the founding elements. So for somebody who never been to Beat Swap Me, somebody who's just getting into hip hop, they get to witness the act, what hip hop is supposed to look like, supposed to sound like, and they see that hip hop is not just rap music, but is dancing, is art.
But I gotta say, first and foremost, Klass, thank you so much again, man, for just giving us a bit of your time, man. Like I said, it definitely was an honor, man, and most definitely a privilege. And I gotta say, I know I'm 13 days late, but Happy New Year to you and yours, man. Nothing but blessings for 2022, and definitely, man, enjoy the rest of your night out there on the West Coast.
Man, likewise, man. Once again, thank you. Big ups to Outlaw Radio. You know, I'll be looking forward for part 2.
Hey, man, most definitely, like I said, man, whenever you're ready, hit my DM and we'll definitely make it happen, man. Thank you so much again, Klass.
Yeah, salute. Peace.